Part two, when business and karma collide. Coming back from Devil's Tower, I found an email in my inbox from a broker who had discovered our startup online and wanted to discuss. He had seen the demos I had posted online, and even though it was a little glitchy, our team was stellar, product unparalleled and disruptive, and we had done it all with just $85,000 and in 4 months. He invited me to France to meet his investor. Now, any reasonable person might ask, why the hell does a legitimate investor need me to fly to another continent for a first meeting? He had said it was customary in French business deals to get to know the person face to face before trusting high level investments. Besides, reasonable wasn't exactly in my vocabulary at the time. I was broke, desperate, and clinging to this opportunity like a drowning man clutches a life preserver. The investor said he couldn't make the meeting, but did show up on a video call for about 5 minutes, flashing his $43 million bank account to prove to me he had the funds and was legit. But the broker, this guy was smooth. Expensive suits, fancy restaurants, talked about market disruption like he'd invented a concept. He wasn't some sketchy dude in a trench coat. He was polished, professional, and said all the right things about tax optimization and international finance. His deal seemed reasonable. $1.8 million invested for a $100,000 broker fee, paid in crypto to avoid high taxes on it. So he said. The crypto part made me feel uneasy, but he assured me I wouldn't need to pay it until after I got the money. Plus, I've been trading crypto for some time. I had secure wallets, knew about digital security, and it was coming from my password protected account I'd used for years on a trusted platform. I didn't see the harm, and nor did my board, lawyers, or business consultants. So I leveraged this potential deal to secure a $100,000 investment from another investor I had spent months chatting up about the project, John from earlier. The promise of a nearly $2 million follow on investment made it an easy sell for him, since he saw it as validation that others with deep pockets already believed in the project. I spent the next 2 months burning through my remaining personal cash on lawyers, drafting up documents for the deal, and paying the team to keep developing, convinced I was investing in my inevitable success. This was it. It's a break I'd been praying for. It was actually happening. Once the 100K investment landed, I uploaded it to my crypto wallet and sent confirmation to the broker, who wanted to see a screenshot to prove I had the funds before giving the green light. 2 days later, on Christmas Eve, I checked my wallet balance and watched my world implode in real time. The money was gone. Just gone. Vanished into the digital void like it never existed. No, no, I screamed, collapsing to my knees, staring at the empty wallet on my screen. These were primal sounds torn from somewhere deep in my chest, the kind of desperate animal howls you make when reality suddenly becomes unbearable. I kept refreshing the page, convinced it was a glitch, that the numbers would magically reappear if I just clicked enough times. But they didn't. They never would. I then traced the funds, and it had been transferred dozens of times to various wallets. Gone. The broker's daily messages, which had become reliable as my morning coffee, stopped completely. That's when the full scope of my stupidity crashed down on me like an avalanche. I had been played. Professionally, thoroughly, and completely. Funds in the crypto world never come back. Authorities believe that he likely had a camera pointed at my phone at the first fancy restaurant he took me to, and likely owned, where he could have viewed my password. But I'll never know. The whole thing was an elaborate con that still baffles me to this day as to how he had pulled it off. My business collapsed instantly. The guy who'd given me the 100K threatened to sue me into oblivion. My board quit. My team scattered like cockroaches when the lights came on. A year of 12-hour days in isolation behind a computer, through all the loneliness, kundalini pain, and relentless work, evaporated in the most expensive lesson of my life. The depression that followed wasn't your garden variety sadness. This was a black hole that sucked the meaning out of everything. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, Couldn't think about anything except how monumentally I'd messed up, how I was ever going to pay to defend myself in court against the disgruntled investor, and how was I going to make life-changing money again, let alone latch onto a reason to wake up every day now that the company was dead. The business was my lifeline to freedom and gave me some sense of purpose. With that gone, in a cold, dark winter in Kentucky again, I now felt suicidal thoughts creeping back in. Not because I necessarily wanted to die, but because living with this level of self-hatred and hopelessness felt utterly impossible. I couldn't win at anything in life. Nothing. No matter how hard I tried, I only felt more and more pain. This shit needed to end, and I was more ready now than ever before to consciously do it. But before I could make the final rash decision, I messaged Shannon to help me make sense of what had just happened. Looks like you two have been planning a little bit of round robin in lifetimes of this theft thing, she said. You did it to him in the last lifetime, and now you've paid off that karmic debt. Look, I know it's rough, but be thankful that it's settled down. That line alone surprisingly pulled back into wanting to keep fighting forward. Suddenly, the loss transformed from meaningless suffering into purposeful payment. It didn't make the pain go away, but it gave it context that made it bearable. This is what high-level spiritual frameworks do. They take the chaos of existence and give it context that makes suffering bearable, even if it's just for the mind to make sense of it all. When relationships implode through betrayal, expanded consciousness and insights from healers can suggest these souls came to teach us about self-worth and independence, that we completed our karmic contract and are free to grow separately. Career failures and financial devastation become spiritual redirection toward our true purpose. Apparent setbacks revealing themselves as protection from paths misaligned with our highest good. One mentor of mine had endured a divorce so vicious and so protracted that it lasted 3 years, with legal battles that would have broken most people's sanity. But as the proceedings grew more toxic and expensive, she tapped in to the energetic blueprint of it and saw how each new layer of cruelty from her ex was lifting ancient karma with that person, finally settling the ordeal once and for all. The deeper the legal nightmare went, the more she understood she was burning through lifetimes of unresolved energy in this single, concentrated experience. Her agony was simultaneously her liberation. These insights can transform you from a powerless victim into an active participant in your own evolution. Spiritual frameworks don't eliminate suffering, but they alchemize it from meaningless torture into purposeful transformation. The pain remains real, sharp, and often overwhelming, but it stops being pointless. Teachers with access to expanded consciousness can see patterns invisible from our limited human perspective, helping us understand that punishment might be protection, failure might be redirection for the soul's path, and endings might be beginnings we would not have had otherwise. Not long after the theft, this abstract wisdom became lived reality for me. Jasmine called and told me of her fast-growing medical wound care patch distributorship company, where sub-distributors built commission-based teams that generated serious monthly income through minimum daily management. Pure commission meant pure risk, but I had been stripped of everything except the newly found willingness to bet on myself again. I liquidated the remnants of my startup and stepped into a completely different game. This venture could earn me more than the startup world ever would, while giving me more time for spiritual work, far less stress, and the freedom my company never allowed. The startup, after all, would have been my prison. 6 to 7 days a week for at least 5 years, hating every second of it. The theft forced my hand in ways my ego would never have allowed, cutting the cord on a venture that was fundamentally misaligned with my deeper purpose. And Jasmine's opportunity, which would take 8 income-free months to learn and finally start paying off, freed up my time so I could go through the most brutal months of my awakening yet. It was all playing out through divine orchestration, even if I didn't know it at the time. Masters can surrender to the downs of life faster than someone like me, trusting that every twist and setback is part of a greater design, and that the universe always has their back, as we mentioned before. But my awareness hadn't caught up to the orchestration yet. I was still learning how to trust, still anchored in immense fear, And what came next would push me to the very edge. A total annihilation was about to ensue, one I wouldn't wish on anyone.